Live in 5, 4, 3.
Hello, and welcome to the Binc Film podcast. I'm your guest and bozo of the week, Troy W. Miller.
There's going to be a lot of bozo takes
There's going
this
to be
week.
some huge bozo takes.
That's why I put you on here, because I'm tired.
Because I'm your favorite bozo?
No, because I'm tired of being targeted as the bozo.
Oh, so you needed a bigger bozo to come take the weight off.
No, just a bozo, not a bigger bozo.
I am taller than you, so I am bigger
They are, in fact, wrong
vertically.
when they call me a bozo.
Everyone's wrong who calls you a bozo. You're not a bozo.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Half correct.
Half correct? Because you're half a... Anyway, I was going to make a short joke, but I won't do that. You're not that short.
No.
Well, you're...
What?
Nothing.
How
Nothing.
do you know?
No,
How do you know?
because the weather up here is so nice, and it's so easy to see shorter people, and I can tell very easily how short or tall they are.
Oh, you're talking...
Yeah, vertically, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. Thanks for coming on here.
You're so welcome.
We have a very long VIP list of people that are begging us to come on here.
I'm so glad that my 5-figure payment was enough to get me to the top of that list.
Yeah, we have, we're waiting because of you. Tom Brady's waiting.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Loser.
It's like Bradley Pitt or something.
Bradley.
It does-
Is he that guy from the movie with Lady Gaga? Bradley, is that?
No, I don't think he was in a lot of good movies.
Oh, probably, yeah.
I think he's like a new up-and-coming actor. But anyway.
Is he from Pittsburgh or something? Or
Maybe that's what it was.
I might be.
His name's actually William.
William Pitt. Yeah.
William
I think
Pitt.
that's right. Yeah.
William Bradley Pitt.
William Bradley Pitt.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. The main thing I wanted to talk to you about today, is a lot of people might not know, you are one of our main writers for Binc Film.
I'm that guy.
So tell people what that means.
So I am the person that has come to... That was probably wrong. I'm a writer. I promise. Despite all the grammatical problems, I swear I'm a writer. No, I'm a collaborator who was come to... It still feels wrong. About movie ideas. The general outline and kind of idea behind a movie is brought to me, kind of proposed to me, kind of given a rough idea of what's expected. I'll take the outline and I'll map it into a screenplay. We'll take the screenplay, go through a couple drafts, make some edits, and then that will become a movie.
What made you want to do stuff like that?
So I've been interested in writing for most of my life. Ever since probably middle school is when it really started. That I kind of picked up on. It was a lot of like poetry and writing lyrics and things like that. So that was where a lot of my creativity kind of started to come out, was in that realm of things. And as I got older, it was kind of a journey for me to kind of become more aware of what I thought would be a good outlet for my creative mind. And it started with music. That was where a big one started for me, was a lot to do with music and writing music and things like that. I've written with your help in some regard with recording aspects of it, written wedding songs for my sisters.
And you've helped me as well.
And I've helped you with some of your projects as well. And so that was a creative outlet for a long time. And I kind of reached a point where I was trying to fully decide what I wanted to do. And it was really, I talk about it all the time in my real life when I'm not recording a podcast. Watching the show Breaking Bad was a big turning point for me. That was a huge part of my creative life, in which I saw so many elements of creative expression and different aspects of a TV show coming together to create just the perfect, in my opinion, television program. And that really inspired me to be like, that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to create something like this and develop something like this and create a story that impacts other people the way this impacted me. And that was what kind of drove me more in that direction of wanting to move into screenwriting. And that was kind of the impetus for that.
How do you think that like film inspiration, like Breaking Bad, for example, how do you think that plays a role in writing when you would compare that to, like, say, music, where you could copy certain, instrumentation styles or chord progressions, things like that. How does that come out in writing?
So in creative writing, a lot of it comes down to my philosophy on writing is that, and I took a lot of this from Vince Gilligan, hearing him talk about the writing process for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. A lot of it comes down to within creative writing, you want to create characters that will kind of encapsulate and really stand out in certain ways that you want them to, and just kind of put them in a situation and then see what happens. And my philosophy in writing is you let the characters drive you towards the story. You can have kind of an idea for a narrative in mind, in kind of a direction that you want to go. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the strength of your characters and what you can create those characters to be, and then how they interact with each other will just happen. And that's a lot of where the creative process, where with music, it's a lot of kind of experimenting around. For me, it was a lot of like playing with chord progressions and things like that, and just kind of messing around to see what worked. And with creative writing, it's kind of a contrast in that you are more developing something at the foundation, and then it'll just grow from that. Like once you've created characters that are really fleshed out and really make sense, and that have really, characteristics that will make them distinct from each other, and then you put them against each other, a story will just happen. Like you don't have to come up with, I'm in a corner, I don't know what would happen, because then you just think, well, what would they do if this happened to them? And you know them well enough that you can just make that happen.
What do you think's harder to write, a song or a story? No, that's too much. What do you think's harder to write, a song or a good character?
A song or a good character? I think I would say it's harder to write a good character, because there are so many aspects that go into who a person is, and there are a lot of aspects that go into music as well. Like there's a lot of things you have to be aware of, but I think that there, comparatively, with there being music theory, there can be character theory in a sense, but it's much more like there's not like rigid, rules or definitions behind things. Where like within music theory, there's a lot of like things that are naturally like the different way that chords interact with each other are gonna, create a certain type of thing. Characters, it's so much more fluid than that, because there are so many different types of people, different types of characteristics, things like that. So I would say that I think a character is probably harder to write, just because you're creating a human being, which is very difficult to do on your own, because normally that takes two people, and it's a lot less in your control what they become.
As a musician, I would say that I actually agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have so much respect. Like I said, I've worked a little bit with music, super on an amateur level, nowhere near the level that you've worked with music, and nowhere near the level of, any musician that anybody would know. And I have so much reverence for people who work in music, because it is a very difficult thing to craft something that's engaging to people, creatively fulfilled. Like that, it's a huge process that I have a lot of respect for. But yeah, I would say characters are a little harder.
What has been your experience with writer's block?
So writer's block, like I said, once I kind of learned the basics of writing characters, that's where a lot of writer's block tends to go away. But my instances with writer's block actually came a lot more when I was writing poetry and lyrics to go with music. And it would just, like, when it came to writing music and lyrics, a lot of it for me came down to, I was very much open to, when I would hear a word, it would make me want to write with that word. Or when I'd hear a phrase, I'd want to write with that phrase. And that would kind of bring me out of it. So I would not be able to like get myself to a point where like I can force myself, sit down, write a poem or a set of lyrics when I want to. I would need to be like inspired by something outward. And that would be where a lot of that would come from, is I would just hear something that would just like spark something in my brain, and I would think of something to go around that, and then I'd kind of craft out around that. So when it came to writer's block, a lot of that would just wait for the inspirational moment, because I'm not as good as I probably should be at like getting myself out of writer's block. It's a lot of like waiting for something to come at me. And
I think the secret is that everyone's that way.
Yeah, you wait for the thing to come and change you, and like, it's a lot easier to do that than to, whatever. I remember hearing the story about John Lennon and Paul McCartney just like locking themselves in a hotel room for like a week or something to write, music for the Beatles. And it's like, I couldn't fucking do that. Like that, I could not make myself write anything that I would be proud of by doing anything like that. Like, I just wouldn't be.
I think the catch is that people who are in those situations, who write that music or stories or whatever it is, they probably don't think it's very good.
Honestly,
it's probably
not.
some of their best work.
Yeah, honestly, probably not. Well, and it's the thing that they say about like within screenwriting, they say that like your first script is going to be horrible, and that sucked for me because the first script I wrote was the one that I really wanted to write. So it's like when you're forcing yourself to do it and you're not really like letting the process flow naturally, and when you're first starting out in a process, you don't know how to do it naturally. So you have to kind of force yourself to go through the motions of it a little bit. And I feel like when you force yourself through the motions, like you can eventually get to the point where you force yourself into enough of a groove that eventually that groove becomes natural because you've been in it so long.
Yeah.
But it's less of a natural kind of process than just getting there.
So speaking of first scripts, how did you first get involved with Binc Film, and what was the first script you worked on?
So I think I was actually thinking about this the other day. I think the first instance when it was proposed was super early on before Binc Film happened, because I recall you bringing up at one point like me working with Mikey on something at some point. I can't remember when, but it was well before Binc Film was a thing. And it was just kind of a vague idea of like, hey, we're talking about this thing. Like, it'd be cool if you guys would write together. But then when we actually did, the first film that we worked on was The Farm, which was the first instance that I was come to regarding a script. And that one was your idea that you had pretty well fleshed out, honestly. It was a really solid, like, full outline. I don't remember if you had a draft for that script to start.
So I didn't have an actual script. I had a lot of what was done. For people that don't know, it's a horror film that we did. You can check out on our channel.
YouTube.com/Binc Film.
They're here right now.
The channel you're on.
That's not true.
Click
They could be on
Spotify.
Yeah,
they could be on Spotify. For all you audio listeners, YouTube.com/Binc Film.
Thank you. I just wanted to expose you so bad because you're talking so intelligently that I'm just like, get this guy out of here.
Should I use small words?
Just keep saying I was come to. I think that'll be enough.
That'll naturally bring the average down.
But no, a lot of that film was based around our location and what we could use to our advantage. What could we use set wise that would also make sense story wise? And that's why I had come to you with. That's why I had been come to. That is why you had been come to with that script initially, is because I had been working with my friend Aaron so much on how, like, what this movie could actually become,
Yeah.
Physically, what could we make out of these locations and our ideas that was practical, that we could, get away with. So we had become very familiar with what the locations were and kind of the general idea of where we were going with it. And so we kind of had to give you a script like that, an outline, because we had already put in the logistical work of where this is going, and that kind of determined in a way the direction that the movie took.
Yeah, and that was an interesting kind of that was my first script that I'd written that had turned to film. I had helped a couple friends of mine earlier on when I was in high school, I think still, or a little bit after high school, with film projects they worked on, and kind of helped them with the script, but I'd never like written my own script and had it turn into anything.
Was that John Vang?
John Vang, yeah. Shout out to John Vang, youtube.com/ I don't know what John's YouTube is, if he has one. But I'd helped him with but The Farm was the first one that I'd written start to finish and that turned into a project. And it was really interesting to have a lot of those logistical problems kind of be solved already. Because with with future projects and future scripts that I'd written, it's more been a process of I'm going to write out kind of and flesh out the idea of what comes to me for this story, and then the logistical stuff will be like edits after the fact. Whereas with this one, it was like the logistic stuff was already figured out, and so that was kind of just built in and factored in.
Was that kind of frustrating too, though, because you wanted to go a certain way and you couldn't?
A little bit, but it created a fun challenge because it gave me kind of like parameters to work within, as opposed to kind of just being like fully able to do whatever. It was interesting to have to work within certain like confines of like, okay, well we have this location. It was a very like the location was set up. We knew where we're going to film, what we're going to do. Like all that stuff was kind of hashed out. So that was very much like cool to work within bounds and kind of make something out of what was already structured around me. Yeah.
So, rumor has it there is a Farm 2 in the works.
What?
Yeah. What do you know about that?
Oh my God! You're telling me this. You're telling me this now for the first time.
There was 4chan leaks. I saw it.
Eric, why are you on 4chan?
I have a problem.
I mean, well, I was gonna say it's better than some sites, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, yeah, Farm 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, it's got a lot of, shall we say, I don't know, what should we say?
What should we say?
All the titles we've been giving it.
Yeah.
What was?
I can't remember the
Attack of the Tractors or something like that.
Probably. I would pull up the email, but I don't remember how long ago I sent it. Yeah, I was trying to think of different sequels and their names, and that's been the working titles in the emails that I sent you.
So for those who haven't seen the first movie, give us like a 30-second recap of what happens.
So in the farm, two brothers are driving through the forest on a dark, snowy night. I think it was snowing, wasn't it?
It was raining. It was
raining.
Snow.
It was raining. Precipitation was happening. They're driving through the forest. Weather's bad. They decide to pull off and spend the night at a Airbnb at a farm, which does exist. That is actually a more common thing than I thought when I was originally writing the script. They stop there. Turns out the people running that farm are fucking crazy, and they try to kidnap them and chain them up in a room in a milk barn. There's a monster that is picking people out of the milk barn to go and take away to an ambiguous place to kill and eat them, and everybody dies except for one of the brothers, and the brother escapes, kills one of the guys, gets captured.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler alert to the people who haven't seen it. youtube.com/Binc Film. Please watch The Farm. Kills one of the farm men, gets captured, is on a table in a Jesus pose on a cross table.
Okay, we'll stop there. That's enough details.
That was longer than 30 seconds.
That's enough details too. But
if you want to see how it ends, youtube.com/Binc Film.
That'd be cool to get a soundbite of you saying that, and I'll have a board here.
It's anytime somebody's talking about something on the channel.
Yeah, so you just press that button and it's super fast. So you got to play the craziest of them all in that film.
I did. I was, in fact, one of the fucked up people in that movie.
So I thought the best part of that movie was the dialogue that you wrote for that character.
It was very fun to write that dialogue.
So oh, go ahead.
It was... Sorry, go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
I was just going to say,
as I started it.
What was it like to write a character and then have to step up and play the role?
So I can't remember if when we were coming up with the film that it was already proposed that I would play that character. I think that it was.
I think it was.
So in that regard, it was very much I had to like disconnect from that a little bit, because like I have been told that I've been asked to do acting roles before, and I've been told I've done well, and it's whatever. I enjoy it in some ways, but I kind of enjoy the behind the scenes aspects of filmmaking a lot more. So it was very much like I had to disconnect and like compartmentalize things away and go, okay, I'm the writer over here and I'm writing for a character. And then it came later on, okay, now I'm acting this character with a script that I was given that I had no part in at all, because I didn't write this. I'm just a lowly, well, not lowly, I'm just a star actor in this film. So it was weird. I tried not to think of myself in that role. I tried to just like build the role as a general idea. youtube.com/Binc Film. About who this character was and what their role was.
Nobody's going to get that reference. We haven't talked about that yet.
But yeah, no, it was fun because writing that character, separate from it being a character that I got to play, writing that character was a lot of fun. I think that it's a lot of fun to write characters that are like not fully there mentally, because I think that there's a tendency with writing characters like that people try to go way too far out, like they're just wild, crazy, just, no real thought behind anything they do. They're just a fucking wild and crazy person. I wanted to take more of an angle on it. There's something beneath that kind of led them to that point and kind of drives what they do. And that was kind of an interesting challenge to like kind of build in some of those other aspects of who that character is and kind of make that flesh them out a little bit more. And then acting the character, that was another aspect of that behind the scenes too, that I had to kind of draw some of that stuff out to kind of make that a fully formed character.
What is it like to revisit a character in a sequel?
It's interesting. No spoilers for The Farm 2. Mainly because it's not fully done yet, I don't think. I gave another draft, but it's probably not done.
I would say it is 95% done.
Okay. I think that it's interesting to revisit a character because you have a lot more to reflect on once that character has been fully fleshed out and created into an actual character on the screen, because it gives you more like little things that you can kind of pick up on. And kind of like think about, like one thing that I thought about with my character from the first film in The Farm was I purposely didn't shower for a few days before that role.
Did you really?
I really did. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Because my thought behind that was like, this is my method acting, okay? My little way that I can do method acting within this role was I wanted to have like a just kind of grimier, like not well-kept person.
Okay,
which was,
you know what?
Yes.
I'm going to chime in real quick.
Yeah.
I thought that your hair looked really greasy.
Why
when we
didn't you
filmed
say
that.
anything? What if I was self-conscious?
Because it looked good.
Well, shit, I'm never going to shower again.
Well, it looked good for that role.
For that, yeah, for
definitely
who that
shower
was.
again.
Yeah. But no, it was things like that like those aspects of the character I didn't have in mind when I wrote the character, but that was more when I had the script done and I was kind of thinking about how to approach that character. That was something that I kind of brought out more. So that was kind of an element of like, okay, this person is the kind of person who would do this. So what else would that kind of person do? And it kind of gives you a new angle to think about a character like that.
So after The Farm, the next movie that we did was the worst movie ever made. If I remember correctly, didn't you write a few lines for the fake trailer in there?
Yes, I did actually.
Do you remember which ones?
Oh God, I can't.
Because it was like, with great power comes...
Oh, it was oh fuck! I wish I could remember, because I remember the voice actor recording of it. I remember when you showed it to me before we released the trailer. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you knock down the enemy, or something like that. Something
I think it was
dumb.
Knock Down Evil.
Knock Down Evil, yeah, something like that.
So for those that don't know, this is another movie on the channel, Troy.
YouTube.com/Binc Film.
And it's called The Worst Movie Ever Made, and it's a spoof parody, kind of like back in the early 2000s when you'd get a DVD and there'd be the bonus material on there. It was like that, but for the worst movie ever made.
Yeah.
And it was for a superhero movie that was being made.
Mm-hmm. You know, the funny thing about when you brought this up was I thought the worst movie ever made was before The Farm. So when you said the next film that we did...
Oh, you're right. It was before.
See that? Okay.
You're right.
Because when you said the next film we made, I had in mind... Little Pictures, which was the next one that I wrote.
Yeah, no,
and
you're right.
And then you said the worst movie ever made, and for a split second I was like, fuck, am I about to get like roasted on the next movie that I wrote? Like, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah, so what happened is we were gonna do The Farm, and Ray, who's playing Sean, he's in the Army, and he ended up, his schedule got changed, he had to leave. So our filming got pushed back. So
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, we had like this month or so of downtime where we had to decide, do we try and squeeze something out really fast in the meantime, or do we just not work on anything until he gets back? So that's why we ended up doing the worst movie ever made, and a lot of it was kind of improvised.
Yeah,
on
just
set
improv stuff. Yeah,
it was. Say what you want about the film. That was one of the funnest days of my entire life.
It looked like such a blast to do.
It was so much fun.
It was, it looked like it for sure.
The entire day was just, everyone was just laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, that type of film seems like such a good time to do. Yeah, for sure. But
So
Yeah.
so then okay, so we did the first one we actually didn't talk about because you hadn't been working with us at that point.
No.
Was Moral Compass,
Mhm.
and then it was the worst movie ever made,
Yep.
and then we did The Farm,
Yep.
and then it was Little Pictures.
Then it was Little Pictures,
So-
which was not the worst movie ever made.
second worst.
Second worst.
What is Little Pictures?
Little Pictures that was kind of a pet story that I had, that when we three first started brainstorming ideas for what to do as far as the film project, that was the main one that I had in mind, was kind of a guardian angels story. And that's kind of the gist of what Little Pictures is. Spoiler alert, youtube.com/Binc Film for audio listeners. It's generally a film about, guardian angels and like somebody watching over you at times of, great stress within your life.
I remember, so when you brought up how I reached out to you years ago about starting some movies and stuff, that was one of the first things you had told me about, is you
Yep.
had this movie idea where they're in a waiting room and there's like this kind of guardian angel type thing going on.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
And they wouldn't have known. If you wouldn't have said that, it would have just gone right
Yeah.
over. That's what you told me. And I remember thinking, like, that's pretty cool, but I don't know how we would do that with like a fake hospital and all that stuff.
Well, it was really hard too because when we started shooting it was post-COVID. So then it was like, okay, well, we're not going to find a fucking real hospital
Yeah.
to shoot anything. So then it was a logistical management of figuring out what to do with that.
It was interesting, though, how doing those films before that gave us enough experience to be like, okay, we can totally do this. We just
Yeah.
need to do a little research, find a place. And
Yep.
you found a church.
I did, yes. Word of Peace Lutheran Church, shout out. YouTube.com /
Word of Peace Lutheran
Word of Peace
Church.com.
Lutheran Church, probably.
I don't
Or
know.
WOP Luther, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know the website. Shout out to Pastor Rick. He's still there, I think.
Do you think he listens to this?
I would be flabbergasted
Do you
if he
think?
did.
What is that supposed to mean?
What is flabbergasted supposed to
No,
mean?
what do you mean?
Do you think he's one of our 9 or 10 followers? Is that what you're asking?
Dude,
You know what? I'll ask. I'll hit him. I'll hit up Pastor Rick's DMs.
You tell him that we want our 11th follower.
I will slide into Pastor Rick's DMs and I will ask him.
That just sounds so wrong.
I'm sliding into the DMs.
Are you
That's
gonna
a totally
Are you
normal
gonna
thing to
come
do.
unto him?
No, that's Jesus's thing.
Or wait, no. What did you say earlier?
Come to. I was come to.
See, I religiousified it.
Yes, you added
Just
a
without even
flair.
without
you added
even
a flair
thinking.
of religiosity.
Religiosity.
That is a real word, actually. Not the
Wow.
one you just said, but that's a real word.
Which one did I just say?
I don't remember because I don't keep track of words that aren't real. Those just one ear out the other.
I feel like this suddenly became very aggressive.
I'm a hostile guest now. This is a debate podcast. What are your thoughts on civil rights?
I really need a soundboard so I can
When does life
like
begin, Eric?
debate music come in, you know?
We need the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire when
Yes.
the lights go down.
Can we do that?
music.
Can we get that with the lights?
That's probably copyrighted. That's
that in the
gotta be
budget?
copyrighted.
No.
Okay.
I'll slide
Someday.
into Regis Philbin's DMs and I'll ask him.
Why are you
He's-
just sliding into people's DMs?
Because how else am I supposed to get there? I can't walk
Troy's
into
a big
them.
deal.
Yeah, dude. I have 80 followers on Twitter.
Really?
Shout out at UbiZoo on Twitter. Follow me if you want.
Yeah, give him your credentials.
All right, at UbiZoo on Twitter. At Troy on Instagram. 6 Troys, because 5 was taken. I wanted 5 because it sounds nicer to say, but it was taken. So when I make
It was
big-
taken.
It was
Can I ask-
taken.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Why don't you just do Troy W. Miller?
Well, because at the time, I mainly just went by my first name, and I wanted to really hammer that home in case anybody forgot. I wanted to make sure to say it 6 times so you couldn't forget. I don't remember, at troyis.cool7 on TikTok.
All right, I got one more serious question for you.
I'm ready.
So with Little Pictures, Little Pictures being a movie that you wrote or started writing years ago, and then comes to life.
It
What
was
was-
come to.
It was come to life. What was it like to have a story kind of playing around in the back of your head for years to finally have table reads and casting and rehearsals and set design and directing. Like,
I think-
what was that experience like?
That one in particular was super surreal for me. Like that, because writing The Farm, with that being the first script that I wrote that kind of came to life, that was a really cool experience. But Little Pictures was that project was just my baby from start to finish. Like I wanted to be involved in every aspect of that. And that was a really, really surreal process to have like every element of like this. It was like being in a writer's room, doing a table read, doing all this stuff that like felt very like, this is the process. I'm part of this process. It's an idea that I came up with. That was a super surreal feeling to have that. And yeah, that one meant a lot to me to have that one come to life, because that was a very cool project to have on my docket. Yeah.
My only question was, what did you think of the final film?
When I think of the final film, I enjoyed it. I thought that it was good. I loved the music. I loved what you did with the music.
Oh, you wrote part of it.
I did write the melody. I remember that was my way of being involved in the music process. I was literally just walking through what is the park along the Mississippi in the. Can we dox ourselves if I say the town?
Dox ourselves?
Is that allowed?
Are you talking about the one near the Target and the...
You know where that new grocery store in that town
Yes.
is? So down the road from there, and then
Yes, that is... what is that park? That's the one that always floods.
Would you know the one? We don't need to say the name. We're not
Where I used to
doxing
live by?
ourselves.
Yeah. Not the one where we go to with the splash pad and the kids.
Prairie Park.
Prairie.
It is
That's the one,
okay,
yeah.
yes.
Literally, I came up with that melody walking through Prairie Park.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was walking the trail because I had some time to kill, and then that like came to my mind, and it was in my phase where like when I had musical ideas, I would pull out my phone, and instead of doing a video or an audio recording like a normal person, I would turn my camera to video and just put it against my hand so it's a black screen and record a video. I don't know why. It's super primitive. Like there's literally
A memo app?
for that, and I just never used it. I just always yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just had that little video of the melody, and then I sent it to you, and then the
I'm
rest is history.
I'm happy with how the music turned out, except I do not like the mix. It
I thought you
needed
say I do not like the melody.
No. It needed like another day or two to kind of resonate in my brain. There's a few things like there's at the very end with the credits, there's a moment where the bass just gets really loud, and it just bothers me so much.
Man,
but
it's got to be so hard to be a music producer. Oh my god,
so hard, so hard.
Oh my god.
I'm like, oh man, that 100 hertz, man.
Man, brutal.
Well, that's going to be it for this episode. But next time, I would be happy if you would rip on me a little more.
I'd love to do that. I'm so ready to pick you apart.
Okay, because you talked about yourself a lot.
I did. It was really selfish of me, to be honest. And I'd like to be more selfish, but in an outward way where I lash out at you
That's
and
really
make you feel worse
generous.
about yourself. Because it's not just about making myself feel good. It's about making you feel bad.
That's fair.
YouTube.com/Binc Film.
We just lost 3 of those 10 followers.
We'll get them back. We'll get them back in the next one when I tear you apart.
Well, would you like to do a semi-passive aggressive outro?
Thanks for watching or whatever. Come back next time if you want, but it's not a huge deal. If I'm not here, don't bother. It's not a huge deal.
Where can they find us?
YouTube.com/Binc Film, TikTok/Binc Film.
Oh, Spotify.
Spotify.
We now have a, what is it called? Premium?
Premium content.
Premium content. So for those of us that really, really like us, if you go on there,
You can subscribe for $3 or something and watch
And
it.
that's how you get the most premium content.
it is because what our premium content is we read your comments, good or bad. We try to mix it up, get some good ones, get some bad ones, get
So
some
don't
medium
just
ones.
be mean.
Yeah.
Be mean sometimes.
Exactly.
Not every time.
Thank
just
you.
sometimes.
Thank you. That's the best way to put it. We've been trying to find a way to say it, and that's it.
Be mean just enough that we notice you.
Yes.
And then stop. Please. Please stop.
For those of you watching on YouTube, we also have the YouTube membership where you can watch them there too. So people on Spotify can subscribe through Spotify. People on YouTube can subscribe through the membership program.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I
Thank
thought
you
it was
so
just
much for
Spotify.
everybody who's joined. And make sure to ring that bell. Ding!
Really, all we want is you guys to come back and give us views.
Yeah. Please watch. That was the end of that sentence.
I think that's the end of the podcast.
Bye.
Cut.